Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony the Sugar Baggy Burt. How you doing, my guy?
Doing good. How are you on this Friday?
I'm exhausted, but I'm good. It's Friday, my friend.
We've made it.
Yes, we made it to the final countdown of the week. So I'm looking forward to this extremely.
Yes, I am looking forward to this, but some sad news right before we went on air that I'm still trying to get over here.
Yeah, actually, let's just go straight into it. So when we were doing our prep for the show, we found out that the great Tony Todd just passed away. It was announced maybe 19 minutes ago that Tony Todd passed away from the cause of death is not revealed, but he was only 69 years old.
What's crazy is that earlier today I brought up because this Monday is Veterans Day, I brought up the classic Platoon, which Tony Todd is in. Tony Todd often gets, I know he is in Candyman and great horror movies, but he's in Lean on Me. He's in Colors. I like when I often dig deeper into an actor's catalog and realize he's in all these other classic movies.
Yeah, he very, very talented character actor. He's known for, of course, Candyman, but his voice is just very particular. He's also in, I believe he's in Dead Presidents, isn't he? The psychopath in Dead Presidents as well.
I don't believe he is in Dead Presidents.
Isn't he? I thought he was the bad guy. Oh, he's in The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock. The Rock.
Yes, The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah, he
Captain Darrow in The Rock. Yes.
Yeah, I don't play that salt that shit. Yeah, he was
good.
He's one of the best,
good,
man.
He's even in Wishmaster, which is
he is. Yes, Wishmaster fights both Jason and Candyman.
Yes. That's but again, when every day it seems like you never know. And today, sadly, it was Tony Todd, which sucks.
Yeah,
I was thinking they are doing a new Final Destination. I was wondering, he is. I'm reading right now. He is going to be in this new Final Destination that's coming out next year. So, might be his final farewell, which is kind of cool, I guess, being in Final Destination one last time.
Yeah, I always remember him before the Candyman days, of course, from Platoon, but also he did in the new remake of The Night of the Living Dead. He played the role of Ben, which was really, when it was first done, it was The Night of the Living Dead was released in '69. It was a lead actor, first African lead actor in a horror film, and then Tony Todd kind of took the reins from that when they did a remake in 1990. He's also in The Crow as Grange. They never say his name. His name is Grange in The Crow. He's the one that shoots the crow, and Michael Wincott says, "Let me do a reenactment." Bang, bang. Oh, fuck, I'm dead.
He did a lot of also like television too. He was in an X-Files episode in season 2. But like you said, his voice is very iconic.
Yeah, he was Venom's voice for the new Spider-Man that just came out.
Sure was.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Very crazy.
I thought he passed months ago. No, Sam, he doesn't. The crazy thing is, when I did Candyman for the 31 Days of Horror, I tweeted at him and he retweeted it. So we got like a decent number of follows for that
That's awesome.
that episode. That's just crazy, man.
Very crazy.
Also, what's up with Twitter? It didn't tweet out our show going live.
It didn't?
No. But we are live. Well, Twitter from the Statistic Penguin thing didn't tweet out. I don't
I'm
know why.
calling Elon right now. No, I don't have his number. If I
Yeah.
did, I'd be yelling at him probably.
Fucking Elon. Once Blue Sky starts doing lives, we're going to Blue Sky.
There we go.
But sorry to open the show on such morbid news. Maybe hopefully we can only go upward from here. We got a packed show today. We're gonna go over the 2021 film Mortal Kombat, with the new film being revealed for 2025, and they have some characters that they're bringing into this new film. We figure we do a deep dive into this one, the remake. We always trash remakes, but let's see what we think about this one, Tone.
Can't wait to dig into it. Actually, just watched it a couple hours ago again.
Let's go into our first segment of what we have been watching, my friend.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
What were you watching this week, my man?
HBO just released the brand new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap. Yeah, and I've never done this before, and I was going to surprise you with this. Is I've done a pre-recorded review of this movie. Let me play it for you. Here it is. Oh, well, that wasn't me recording that. That was from Dumb and Dumber, but you get the point. Honestly, we've been doing this show now. Tonight is our 36th episode, and I don't think I'll ever have trashed a movie as much as I'm about to trash this one. And personally, I had a couple grievances when you went through the M. Night Shyamalan movies. Like take for instance, Old. I look at that as like a real bad B movie. It's not really good, but to me, I could find the cheese in this. But this movie was just bad, really bad. I felt like I wasted my time, and not Josh Hartnett. He was fine in it. It's the fact that everything is given away in the plot in the trailer, and there is really nothing left to be beholden for the viewer when you go into this movie. You pretty much know everything, and I think it takes away everything in the movie. I think really, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's about a man who takes his daughter to a pop concert, and while he's at the concert, news breaks out that the killer is here at this concert, and he is trying to be trapped at the concert. The third act is even more preposterous than you could even imagine for an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And I did see Lady in the Water in the movie theater, so that is saying a lot from me, which that movie is probably the only movie that's worse than this one. But really disappointed because honestly, I thought he was doing better than this lately, but this seemed to be something he put together to just kind of I don't know. I don't get what he was doing with this. Have you got to see this one yet? Yep.
So no, I haven't seen this movie, but it's surprising that you didn't like it because I've actually heard from several people that it actually wasn't that bad.
Oh, I don't, there's literally, the plot is he is the killer. So like, you being somebody who watches a lot of movies, what are we left as the viewer knowing that already going into it? Also, the preposterity of a man at a concert at the United Center, let's just go out and say, and the cops have zeroed in on him at the concert, and they are willing to bring SWAT teams into a concert. Like, let's think of Dahmer, let's think of all the craziest killers, and I'd never think that if he was at a concert at the United Center, they would bring in the SWAT team. I mean, hell, Yump, we were at a baseball game where a bullet went off, and there was literally no SWATs that I saw personally. But in this movie, The thing that really bothers me is he is able to get backstage, which, okay, I get that still. He's able to go up to the pop star who is the lead star and talk her into pretty much getting into a limo and driving away, which is odd because this is why everybody's at this arena and nobody really cares that she gets in a limo with Josh Hartnett and drives away. Now, there is a scene that I will praise, and it's his wife in the movie, Alison Pill. I don't know if you're familiar with any of her work.
Scott Pilgrim.
She does a really good job as the wife because I think she's the one who has tipped off this whole entire thing. So there is a meeting later between the both of them that Josh Hartnett just really nails, and she does a good job. But I don't like the reason I played that part for you there at the beginning is the camera work too bothers me. It's like a slow meandering, and you know what's going on. So this isn't Hitchcock here. Okay, we already know what's going on. This isn't Psycho, which is amazing. This is Trap. You're trapped at a concert. So personally, check it out. I'm curious to hear what you would think or anyone else would think out there. But I think it rhymes. There's a word that rhymes with trap that kind of makes me remind me of this movie.
Oh, wow. Man, Tony going off the hinges today.
Now, there was a movie back in the 90s called Hope Floats. And I'll always remember that me and my buddies used to say, you know what else floats? And that's what this is pretty much. It's just to me, but I will give credit. Josh Hartnett, you could put him in anything, and I think he'll be really solid. It wasn't his fault. To me, it was the script, just a really bad script from my perspective. Did you see the Dave Bautista movie, the last one that he did?
No, I did not.
Cabin in the Woods or Knocked in the Woods? I forgot what
the one where he's like the giant.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I saw Cabin in the I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one wasn't terrible. But Batista's it's a different story. With this one, I just didn't get. But check it out. And my next movie that I've seen, because I needed something to really clean out the awfulness of Trap, was The Man Who Wasn't There. And if you have not seen this one and you are a big, big fan of Sopranos and you love Mr. Gandolfini, he does an amazing job in this movie.
Chickens are coming home to roost. I got a note. A blackmail note, Come across so everybody knows.
Coen Brothers direct this movie. I love it because it's filmed in black and white, which gives it kind of that old, like it's the 1950s. Billy Bob Thornton does a great job in the movie. Frances McDormand does a great job in the movie. Tony Shalhoub, great job. I like the storyline, which is pretty much a barber, which is played by Billy Bob Thornton, gets mixed up in a kind of a murder, and he is it's just a lot of entrapment. And Gandolfini, though, anytime I've been able to catch him in any type of role, this one being one that I definitely enjoy, and it gets kind of lost in the Coen Brothers filmography. You ever see this one yet?
Yeah, a while ago. It's a good one.
But again, really enjoy this one. John Polito is in this one. Great in Miller's Crossing. Just really another good Coen Brothers movie. But what do you
Scarlett Johansson in it too, right?
Scarlett Johansson is in it too. Yes.
Yeah, good one. It's a good one. Check it out. Coen Brothers. I wrote about Miller's Crossing. A film that doesn't really get talked about a lot when we talk about mobs and movies. It's another one that doesn't really get talked about. It's kind of their repertoire or filmography that they directed that should be talked about a little bit more.
I'm hearing they're doing something together again, so I'm curious to see what that's going to be when that comes out.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. Hopefully it's something good.
Yeah, it's always what you look for.
Sorry for that yawn.
What have you been watching?
So I've watched two movies. One is my go-to film whenever I have stuff to do, and this week was a shitload of stuff for me to do at work. So I like to throw on something when I'm at home during my remote days, just to have around the background. And this film, I usually stop at certain parts and watch the acting, and that was Rob Reiner's A Few Good Men, which stars Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, and Kevin Pollak. If you haven't seen this film, it's from 1992. It's based off a Broadway play. Probably one of Jack Nicholson's most over the top yet underrated roles as Colonel Jessup. We all get the famous line of "You can't handle the truth," which he tells Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise plays a phenomenal lawyer. For a man who didn't even graduate high school, he plays a phenomenal lawyer. In this film and in The Firm, Kevin Pollak is great. Demi Moore is great. Kiefer Sutherland is great in this film, as well as Kevin Ham, aka Kevin Bacon. I really, really enjoy this film. I think it's masterfully shot, beautifully. I love the music with it. I love the JT James Marshall as well as Wolfgang. I can't think of Wolfgang's last name at the top of my head right now, but they play the two privates that are accused of murder. And we have the guy from New York Undercover as Private Santiago in this film. Uh, just one of the all-time classics. Like I said, I have it on for background noise, but I still lean over and watch like certain parts of it. The whole cross-examination of Jessup, the cross-examination of Kendrick, that whole when he yells at when Sam Weinberg gets into a fight with Demi Moore because he couldn't run too fast. He says that line, it always cracks me up. But Wolfgang Botson, thank you, Texter, aka my brother. He knows this movie like the back of his hand. So yeah, definitely a great film. Tell me what you think about A Few Good Men.
Remember renting it, well, not me personally, my mom renting it and me watching with her when I was like 10 or 11 or 12, "Did you order a code red? Did you order the code?" I mean, some of the greatest acting. I've talked to you before about how me and my buddies used to like find these actors' names, and we used to talk about them a lot. And a great character actor who sadly passed away at a young age, and man, he always played a scuzzball in every movie. He plays scuzzball in this. He plays a scuzzball in Breakdown. He plays a scuzzball in Backdraft. JT Walsh.
Yes.
Really, 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 he's got that look, just like the perfect look for this role that he plays in this movie. But you nailed it. I mean, I was thinking about this when you sent it to me. When I think Jack Nicholson movies, I don't know why I don't go to this one as one of my tops, because it is a top movie. I usually personally mentally go to like The Shining for some reason, but just a really great movie that I'm glad that he got involved in. And I would just love to have been on the set with all these actors and Rob Reiner, because you go even deeper, and Christopher Guest is in the movie, and he who is part with Rob Reiner of This Is Spinal Tap. So you yourself like, this is just really cool. And you know how much I love Rob Reiner, Stand By Me. And you're absolutely right. Tom Cruise nails the part of this. And I love The Firm too. I could talk about The Firm all day long. Gene Hackman's great in The Firm. But that's another time. But great movie, great pick.
Yeah, thanks, man. Also, Cuba Gooding Jr. actually has a small role in this film as well. And I just realized this film was actually written by Aaron Sorkin, who did like Molly's Game and like Being the Richards and Moneyball, Social Network. So he's got some chops there. Um, yeah, it's one of the classics, man. One of the classics that should get talked about more, but it's kind of lost in the shuffle, I think, now. And the other film I watched is one I had to pay attention to because it is involving subtitles, and that is 2005's Killzone, which features Donnie Yen, who is one of my favorite martial artists and action stars. He's from that over Asia and that has kind of transitioned into coming to America with John Wick 4. He was in the Triple X sequel. He was like first introduced in Blade 2, but he played a small role there. But he did all the choreography for the fights in that movie. But the big action star that's kind of blossoming into his own here now. And it also has a Sammo Hung, if you know who he is, Tone. Sammo Hung.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, mostly he did another movie with Donnie Yen called Ip Man 2. Another big star from Asia. These are like the two biggest martial arts stars at the time. And they did a film in 2005 about a cop who's going after a drug lord played by Sammo Hung, and like it's just bonkers. Like there's people that are like on the take, and Donnie Yen's just trying to get to the bottom of it, and they face off like in an epic fight at the end between the two. They're just beating the shit out of each other on top of it in this building, in this office, while this phone's ringing. It's just like Sammo Hung's phone's ringing. You have a great fight with Donnie Yen and the alleyway with swords. It's probably one that sword fight's considered one of the best fights in martial arts history. And so, if you just to see it for that aspect alone, that scene is worth it. It's a good check it out. I believe it is on Haya, which is on Prime. I actually have the DVD, so I actually popped the DVD in to watch it. But it's on Haya, I believe, which is no Haya, like karate Haya.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah, it's like Haya.
That's awesome.
HI hyphen YAH. It's like
I've
it's like
never heard of
$2.
that. I gotta look into that tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe it's on Prime. Check
That's
it
my
out.
weakness in film because I've
Yeah.
never seen this movie, so I gotta check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out, man. It's worth it. It's like mafia and cops, and it has a twist ending. I don't want to reveal it, but it is totally worth your time.
All I think about when you said Donnie Yen is the end of the last John Wick.
Yeah,
And yeah.
that so speaking of John Wick, it made me laugh because Donnie Yen speaks like 4 different languages. But in the film, his dialogue with Keanu Reeves, so Keanu Reeves has very, limited dialogue, but in the film, he's like Kane, and he's like John. Just the way they talk back and forth, it cracks me up, their interactions. But yeah, I really liked him in that film. I was really happy that he got like that's such a big, big mega film, that franchise especially, and he got put in it. So when I heard he was in it, I was very, very excited. I told my brother about it, my wife about it. Like, of course, my wife doesn't care, but it's not the end, man. And also to go along with this, Tony, this film is directed by Wilson Yip, who actually did the Ip Man series, the first 3. Well, actually did the first 4. So he also did another film I talked to you about called Flashpoint with Donnie Yen.
Yeah. Yes.
It's another good one. So Wilson Yip's a really, really good action director. So it's definitely worth your time, my man.
Definitely go check it out. Definitely.
Cool. So that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over at the Twitter, soon to be Blue Sky. We are on Blue Sky, by the way, at Six Penguin Studios.
Follow us.
Yeah, follow us there. But you can let us know on Twitter what we watched at Lil Yumper or at the Sugar Baggy, aka Kano Wins. Yeah, let us know if we missed anything that you watched and you want us to check out, and we definitely will. I know the Penguin just finished up. I know Tulsa King is finishing up. There's shows that I have to get to that I haven't had time to, but I definitely will get to them. But
I just keep watching X-Files every night. I watched one last night. Kathy Griffin played like dual roles. I was like, I don't remember this. It was really good.
It's Kathy Griffin. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
I remember her from the Slim Shady video.
Oh yeah.
Kathy Griffin. So another thing too, like I have been watching The Conners. I'm finishing up the 6th season. It's just getting cringeworthy now. I'm trying to get through it because I got through the first 5. The 6th season's not good.
Is Dan working at that hardware store yet?
Yeah, it just burned down the episode I just watched.
Yeah, that's about where I stopped, I think.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just not the same, but I digress, But Tone, we have a action-packed show today. As we mentioned, we're gonna get into the 2021 film of Mortal Kombat. So when was the first time you actually played the game?
Oh, when I first played the game was the year it came out. I mean, right when it came out. I mean, when that game was released at the local video store, I remember riding my bike up there and sitting there and waiting for a copy to be returned for the Sega Genesis. I didn't have Super Nintendo. I had Sega Genesis. And I sat there and I waited and I waited. And after about an hour, someone returned a copy because I needed to play this game. Now I look back at what I was waiting for, and I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I was much more of a fan of part 2 than part 1. Part 1 was a little, the blood wasn't really what you thought it was going to be when you look back at it. It's a little dated, but for the time period, man, it was awesome. And it was really cool. I was always a big Sub-Zero guy.
Yeah, so it's crazy that you say, the first game that came out in '92. I never owned the first game. I played it at the arcade. There used to be like a breakfast and sandwich joint by my house. That used to be on Ashland. That my aunt used to go to. My aunt's maybe about 10 years older than me. We used to go there in the morning, and they had the arcade there, like 2 arcade machines. There was this one, and it was like a Conan game, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan, which is really, really
Ooh.
hard to play. So I would play this game while we were waiting for our order. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then when I got Sega Genesis, it came with a copy of Part 2. So it came with a copy of Part 2, and then my aunt bought me Streets of Rage 2, which I thought was awesome to go with it. But yeah, it's it's controversial, fun as hell. I remember playing it with my brother, playing it, my friends, the 3, and I still play the new ones that come out just for the way it looks and the story they have going with it. I think is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, always really, I always thought just the way the finishing moves were inventive. One guy turned into a dragon, and then eating half of them. Kung Lao.
Liu Kang.
Yep. Liu Kang.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kung Lao did the hat.
That's what it was. The hat took the guy's head off. Yeah.
Ooh, it might be a porn name, Sam. A Few Good Men might be a porn name. You never know. But Tone, you want to get into this breakdown into the development, my man?
Let's do it.
In my thoughts, I use the technique of positive visualization.
So, as we mentioned, we cannot talk about this film without first talking about the history of the video game. The game was originally envisioned as a title starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course, capitalizing on his martial arts fame, which is why Johnny Cage does the Nutcracker, which is a punch to the balls, is of course a taking away from Bloodsport. Van Damme couldn't make the project materialize, so the team decided to create a unique fighting game with a more darker tone. This was the first game to use digitalized sprites, meaning it used real actors to capture character movements, giving us a more realistic look for it. They had a behind the scenes video that came out maybe like 6 or 7 years after this game, showing the guys who played the characters. I think Johnny Cage played like 2 different characters in the game, which I thought was kind of funny. We also had the introduction to fatalities. Usually, if you played Street Fighter, after you beat the person, their health went away. You just won that round. But in this game, you got to kill somebody. Kano ripping out the heart, I remember, was like a big thing. Sub-Zero ripping off your head. Scorpion blowing fire on you, stuff like that. The uppercut into the pit was another one that got a lot of mention and a lot of controversy around it. This game also had secret characters and Easter eggs. Of course, you had the reptile, the Noob Sabots coming out, Sabots coming out, which is just a play off Ed Boon and Tobias's last name. And like I said, this film had a lot of impact and controversy. The game's graphic violence sparked widespread controversy, contributed to congressional hearings on video game violence, and led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating, ESRB, in 1994. Which is why when you see a game now, you see it teen, mature, adult, which they're supposed to be watching to see if you can buy it now. But now with digital games, I don't know how they keep up with that unless they check the counts, age, but they also could be lying about their age on that too. So yeah, good job with that. The culture phenomenon it spawned the franchise, including sequels and movies that we're going to talk about one of them tonight. A TV series, which was ridiculously horrible. One of them was anyway. Comics and merchandise. Merchandise has always been big. Funkos. I have a ton of these Funkos for Mortal Kombat. Huge fan of it. It influenced other fighting games. Really bad ones too, like Pit Fighter. Have you ever played Pit Fighter, Tone?
Sadly, yes.
One of the worst games ever. It also like did one for I think was it the Jaguar had a game where like a Scottish guy lifted up his kilt and shot off like torpedoes out of his dick or something like that. It was
Oh
really
my
weird.
lord.
It was ridiculous. But yeah, that was another game I remember that was inspired by this. Really bad games came from Mortal Kombat, which they try to capitalize on the success of it. It was one of the highest grossing arcade games in the 1990s. The home console versions sold millions of copies worldwide. By 1993, the game had generated significant revenue from arcade and console sales. Exact figure are vary by source, and it helped establish fighting games as a dominant genre in the gaming industry. Some might say that without Mortal Kombat, the Sega Dreamcast wouldn't have so many good fighting games on it because they actually took some of the traits that Mortal Kombat had done and playability and kind of made that into games like Power Stone, as well as Marvel vs. Capcom. Although they didn't have fatalities in them, they had a lot of co-op and a lot of stuff that they liked from Mortal Kombat, and they added in there with the special moves and all that good stuff. Uh, Again, it was praised for its innovative gameplay and graphics, like the digital sprites, but a lot of people thought that it was too violent. And of course, when something good and is really popular comes out, like the Ninja Turtles came out, they had a movie. In 1995, a film was made for Mortal Kombat starring Robert Shaw, Christopher Lambert, and Talisa Soto for Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat.
that's where we were going tonight, really.
Yeah.
When you said Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
I was thinking about it, but I figured we go with the remake because we go with the old one, we can go with the remake.
Now I'm furious because you know what? That would have been a good soundtrack for me to pick tonight because that's
I know,
actually a good soundtrack. Darn it!
I'm gonna make it hard on you. The 1995 film made $122 million on an $18 million budget. Then they had this film in 1997 to capitalize off that, and it was horrible. It was called Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It made $51 million on a $30 million but it still made money, which surprised me because I remember it being really bad when I saw it. I saw that movie in theaters, and it was horrible. Uh, we could do deep dive on that film if you want to do that. Has so many bad things that happen with it.
Or you can
It
make fun of me for seeing the Street Fighter movie in the movie theater.
Hey, that has Jean-Claude Van Damme in it, though. I
I
hate you.
know. But
And Raul
Christopher
Julia.
Lambert, Highlander.
Well, but he was in the first one. The second one, Annihilation, Lambert didn't come back for Raiden. It was actually James Remar.
Even better, James Remar. What lies beneath? You just did the little bit. Here you go.
Yeah, James Remar is in it. It's just
I gotta watch that. I know
so
it's gotta
bad.
be bad, but I gotta just.
The graphics are horrible in it too. It's so
I
upsetting.
saw it on HBO. I saw a couple of things they got on there because I watched this today. So.
Oh, speaking of characters, I just thought of this right now because I just looked at it. Brian Thompson is Shao Kahn, and Shao Kahn is Brian Thompson, Shao Kahn, and Brian Thompson is from one of my favorite movies, Cobra.
And he's also been on a lot of the X-Files episodes recently.
Oh,
I love Brian Thompson. You know what is one of his most hilarious roles? Joe Dirt. He's the guy's like throw shit in the skin. He plays
And he's the guy that he wheels down the car magazines to him. Oh, you know this guy's got a 65 Chevy? I love Joe Dirt. That's a great movie. But now that we talked about the video game, we can start going back into the history of why it took this movie so long to be made. Of course, after the post-Annihilation plans, there was discussions for a third film to begin as early as 1997, but it stalled due to Annihilation's horrible reception by fans and critics. In 2005, production again was halted after Hurricane Katrina came through and damaged all the sets in New Orleans. Then Midway Games, who produced and licensed the intellectual property to Mortal Kombat, went bankrupt. It also had budgetary restraints for the film. Not to mention, it had some creative differences. Multiple directors were attached, as long as writers, and they left to disagreements over the film's direction. the tone and rating debates. There was basically balancing the desire for R-rated film, for a faithful adaptation with a commercial viability. You had Kevin Tekorin's departure, who was really popular because he actually did the Mortal Kombat Legacy, which was a series of films that is actually really good. They're kind of like little short films of each character that he did. I actually own the DVD of them, where he does like Raiden and Liu Kang. He does them in their own little short lore stories, which I thought was pretty cool. And he wanted to do something similar for the direct feature film, but he left. He left the project in 2013, citing a need to pursue other creative opportunities. This is kind of like the Ghostbusters 3 film that was basically in development hell. There was script development issues, script rewrites. They went through so many rewrites to find the right balance of how they're going to do the story with action. You had who they're going to include as characters. I mean, there's so many damn characters in Mortal Kombat. They just didn't know who to include. And I would say one of the things that hurt Annihilation was probably the inclusion of too many characters. I think Shiva was supposed to have this epic fight scene and they ran out of money, so they just killed her with the cage falling on her. Which is why she dies that way in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. For the technological considerations, advancements were needed. If you saw Annihilation, there's no need to explain anymore on that. The graphics sucked. They also wanted a budget that would go with good quality, and when the movie sucks, they're not going to have that. So that was another issue. But there was one person to come forward and save the franchise. And that person was a guy who directed Saw, the 2004 film Saw. He also did The Conjuring Part 2, Insidious.
Which today a student was like, I'm going to my grandma's and we're going to watch The Conjuring 3. And I looked at him and I go, he's in 6th grade. Well, this will be fun.
Yeah. He also did Saw 2 through 6. Jeez, I bet he did a lot of films. The Nun, he was a producer on. And that is the man. Oh, he also did that horrible film, Fast and Furious Part 7, I think it was. James Wan, who, had some big sway after his films hit. So you can thank James Wan for getting the ideas and the juices flowing to get this film even into production. So after James Wan said he wanted to, and was interested in producing this film or getting it kind of some juice, they decided what they're going to do. Are they going to do a sequel? Are they going to do a reboot? Since Mortal Kombat was a moderate success but criticized for lack of depth, and of course Annihilation was poorly received with criticisms aimed at everything about the film, including plot and special effects, and they kind of felt like culture and the changes in audiences' expectations and advancement in filmmaking was different since the 90s. So they said, let's just reboot it. Doing this allows filmmakers to retell the story without being constrained by the previous continuity, which I think is okay. Opportunity to reintroduce characters with more complexity and more development to them, edging them out, which I think in the original only really Liu Kang was kind of fleshed out more than any of the other characters. I mean, Sonya had like a little story with Kano, and then she was kind of basically fighting people in the mud in the second one. Johnny Cage had a little bit of backstory, and he was killed within the five minutes of the second film. Because
I forgot so much about the second one. I thought Christopher Lambert was still in it.
Yeah. So it gave them the opportunity to reintroduce characters. You had the modernizing the franchise. Again, you got updated special effects, better fight choreography, because although I love the originals, the fight choreography, like Christopher Lambert or even James Rebar fighting in the second one, wasn't that good. His move was like the uppercut was his big thing. And then when his stunt double switched out, you could totally tell it was a stunt double because James Remar can't do, 360 taekwondo kicks.
This ain't the Warriors days.
Yeah, he's not Ajax. He was like, this is old James Remar. And it addressed the past shortcomings by incorporating more accurate representations of the game's brutality. And that's something that stuck out to me when I first heard this film was in development. They pitched this as closer to the game, which would feature blood and fatalities. I always thought how they're going to incorporate that in a new film, the fatalities. Are they going to have somebody come out and say fatality or, but no, they incorporated it pretty well. It gave creative freedom. We reimagined the universe. You had a reboot, permitted exploration of new storylines and character dynamics. So you have more stuff there, fleshing out the lore. You have new characters coming in. This will attract new audiences, some that weren't familiar with the ones that grew up in the 90s. And again, this movie came out 30 years after the game was released and 27 years after the first movie was released. So you got the new people coming in, younger audiences. You can kind of play this towards them. This also, unfortunately, when we do a reboot and it's successful, it lays the groundwork for sequels and spin-offs. And like we said, studios are always looking for money. So with all this, they finally got the confidence from the studio to get the green light. A solid script and clear vision convinced Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema to proceed. They got a budget approved of $55 million, balancing both risk and production needs. So, how'd they do the story? Well, they aimed for authenticity, as we said. The creative team sought to craft a story that stayed true to the core elements of Mortal Kombat, the video game series, and emphasize its dark tone with visceral action. So they wanted to incorporate both. They wanted to introduce a new protagonist. As you play the games, Liu Kang is always the protagonist. And then, when they got to like 4, I think it was Shijinko. Or, yeah, Mortal Kombat, when they had Shijinko in there, who's another character just gets killed off in later ones. But they introduced a new character named Cole Young, an original character not present in the games. He was introduced to serve as the audience's surrogate. It's allowed newcomers to be introduced to complex lore without prior knowledge of the franchise. Again, they're playing to that younger audience. They did the exploration of the iconic rivalries. The film dives into the ancient feud between Scorpion, Hanzo Hayashi, and Sub-Zero, Bihan, providing a backstory that sets the stage for the overachieving conflict. So they're going to play off the strengths here. And it includes signature elements, signature moves, signature catchphrases. It doesn't have this one.
That was pathetic.
But it does have some of them. And it's aimed to balance fan service with a coherent narrative. So the writers that were involved in this were Greg Russo, who was really passionate about games, and he focused on respecting the source material. You had Dave Callahan, who brought experience from films like The Expendables and Wonder Woman 1984, which is horrible. And you have Oren Uziel, who wrote an early draft inspired by his short film Mortal Kombat Rebirth, which is another good one. Check that one out if you can. And the storyline focused centered around the concept of a mysterious tournament that determines the fate of Earthrealm. So basically, they didn't go too far from the original story in terms of the original goal of the game. And it explored the destiny and honor and burden of legacy. You had some character development in here. Each character has given personal motivations and arcs to make them more than just fighters. So they want to flesh out the characters for this film. And it emphasized relationships such as mentorship between Raiden and Earthrealm's champions. And this is where I kind of disagree with this point of character development tone. I don't really see this in the film where it says the mentorship between Raiden and the Earthrealm's champions. I think in the film, Raiden's kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah.
He's not really interacts with them as much as what the script is, what they're saying the writing want to go through with this.
No, by rewatching it here a little while ago, I would definitely say that Raiden kind of was like the man with no name doing his own thing out there.
Yeah. The good thing is though, they had collaboration with the franchise creators, Constellation with Ed Boon, who co-created Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon provided insights to ensure authenticity. He also does NetherRealm, which is actually stationed here in Chicago. And they're also involved in NetherRealm Studios. The game's developers offered guidance on character designs and lore accuracy. They then had their story written, so they're going to go to the director. Of course, they wanted James Wan to direct, but he joined as a producer while directing. His involvement brought significant experience in action and horror genres, and as well as storylines that he's written. So he didn't want to direct. There's other directors that were specifically approached, but besides Kevin Takaran, who I mentioned earlier, who did Mortal Kombat Legacy, there weren't really anybody else they could pinpoint besides Simon McQuaid, who they actually got to do the film. Simon McQuaid is an Australian, and he had a career in advertising. Before Mortal Kombat, he was renowned for his work in the advertising industry. He directed high-profile commercials for brands like PlayStation, Halo, uh, Range Rover, Duracell, and Samsung. So he did have some of that video game background with his PlayStation and Halo commercials. His commercials were known for their cinematic quality and storytelling prowess, which I think is kind of crazy because they're commercials. But he won several awards, including Cannes Lions and D&AD awards for his advertising work. Mortal Kombat marked his first directorial debut in feature films, and he was chosen for his ability to blend visual storytelling with action sequences. And I think he did a good job in this one. His vision for the film was he wanted to be authentic, the source material. He wanted to develop characters. He wanted to have a realistic action, and he wanted to have a collaboration with the cast. He wanted the cast to seem like they got along and kind of have that buddy thing. And I think he wanted to be similar to the way Raiden got along with Liu and Johnny Cage in the first film, which I thought was like crucial to the film doing well, because even though it had some cheesy action, it was always fun to see how the characters interacted with each other. And Alan Ashby from the first film as Johnny Cage is hilarious. When this is one of his little lines of I can smell her perfume, and then when they get there and they go into the wrong place, Sonya Blade says Bridget Wilson Sanford is like, I smell something. Bullshit. Just, Lyndon Ashby, I'm sorry. It's such a great, interaction between the characters. But, you got the director out of the way now. And then, I just noticed I copied my notes twice on this. Give me 1 second so I can delete this shit. Cool. Okay, now we have our director chosen. And we're going to go into our casting, Mr. Burton. We have our casting directors, Lisa Rinsler and Christine King, who are involved in finding the actors, and they were looking for a main cast and characters. They went with Louis Tan as Cole Young. He's an original character created for the film, as we said, a washed-up MMA fighter unaware of his heritage. Apparently, he's from the south side of Chicago. He is
We love him.
Tan, who got the role, is a British and Chinese descent. He's known for his shows Into the Badlands and Deadpool 2, as well as Wu Assassins. Tan is a martial artist, so his experience in that made him a strong fit. And they said he brought emotional depth to a new character intended to connect audiences to the Mortal Kombat universe. Then we have Hiroyuki Sanada, who is a badass, in my opinion, as Hanzo Hasashi, aka Scorpion. And he would play a vengeful ninja resurrected as Scorpion. He's a veteran actor of Japanese films as well as American films. He was in The Last Samurai, Avengers Endgame, Westworld. He was actually in John Wick 4, as we mentioned. Awesome actor. I love the fact that he is getting more American roles because I believe he should get more exposure to American audiences. He's also in a great series called Shogun, which actually I think won a Golden Globe or Emmy recently.
Yes, it did.
Sanada's acting prowess and martial arts background got him this role. His ability to convey complex emotions and intense action sequences got him in here as well. If you haven't seen him beat the shit out of Tom Cruise with a stick in The Last Samurai, then you don't know how intense this man can be. Joe Taslim was cast as Bihan, aka Sub-Zero, a former Lin Kuei assassin with the cryotechnic abilities. Basically, he creates ice. He's an Indonesian actor known for The Raid Redemption and Fast and the Furious 6. He was the first actor signed due to his exceptional martial arts skills, and actually his son played a role in him taking the film. He never played any of the games, and when his son heard he was up for this, he's like, you got to do it. And when he went to go and demonstrate his skills, producers were impressed by his performance and his physicality. You have Jessica McNamee, who was playing the role of Sonya Blade, who's basically a determined special forces officer seeking to prove herself. She's an Australian actress known for The Meg and The Battle of the Sexes. She demonstrated the ability to portray strong resilient characters. I only know her from 2 films besides this, so I don't know if that was true. But she underwent physical training to perform action sequences authentically. You have Josh Lawson, who's a character who plays Kano, a mercenary and leader of the Black Dragon Clan. The cool thing about Josh Lawson is that as Kano, if we remember from the first film, I believe Kano was played by Trevor Goddard, who, if I'm not mistaken, is British. I believe he's British, but Kano was always supposed to be like an American sounding character. The Trevor Goddard has a British accent, and that kind of got him doing the Kano voice, which changed the character into having a accent that was Australian. And the character of Josh Lawson is actually authentically Australian to play an Australian character of Kano. He's the first Australian actor to play Kano who's supposed to be Australian, which I thought was pretty cool. He also appeared in like films like Anchorman 2 and House of Lies. I have to say he's probably one of the best parts of this film just with his humor and menace to the role.
And I'll be honest with you, this was the main reason that brought me into this. If you get a chance, I know you love Don Cheadle. House of Lies was one of the best shows I've seen in the last 15 years. It was on Showtime, and Josh Lawson was hilarious on this show. So, and it totally different, like a total different character than what he plays in this movie. So, I really enjoyed his casting.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the more comics before. Really paid a bit. Ooh, Sam, you gotta get into it, man.
This movie here is on HBO Max. It's good stuff.
Yes, sir. Then we have McCad Brooks, who plays Jax Briggs. He was a special forces major with cybernetic arms, who we all know. He's known for his role in Supergirl and True Blood, and they cast him because of his physical presence. He's a big dude, and his commitment to intense training. Jax is a pretty big fucking powerhouse, and this dude embodies him. Although I think the guy in the first film kind of embodied him too, even though he didn't have the other lines except "Sonya, come here." But he looked like a badass, that guy. You have Ludai Lin, I hope I pronounced that correctly, as Liu Kang. He's a Shaolin monk with champion of Earthrealm. The background of this character is he's a Chinese Canadian actor, appeared in Power Rangers and Aquaman. Again, he was cast for his martial arts background and familiarity with action roles, and he embodied Liu Kang's spiritual and heroic qualities. I love Robin Shu as Liu Kang, but when we found out that he wasn't going to be the focal point of this film, I do love the way Ludin Lin played him. As kind of shy, like quiet, kind of like the as Tony Soprano would say, the Gary Koopa, the strong side. Yeah, he's a badass in this film. Then we have Chris Han as Shang Tsung, who's a soul-stealing character. He's a sorcerer, and he's the primary antagonist in the first film, and then he comes back in the second one with Shao Kahn and all that great lore. He's a Singaporean actor who appeared in The Dark Knight and Ghost in the Shell, and he was cast because he can portray menacing and charismatic villains. He also brought gravitas to the role of Shang Tsung, as they say. I thought he did a great job. I mean, Shang Tsung is, in the first one, Hiroyuki Tagawa, who plays Shang Tsung. I also love him in Big Showdown in Little Tokyo.
That's a good one.
Or Johnny Tsunami is another film he's in. But he does a great job. He did he coined the famous way of saying "your soul is mine," And I thought Chin Han actually did a decent job filling those shoes. It was a pretty big shoes to fill.
He did.
Max Wong plays Kung Lao, who was a Shaolin monk wielding a razor-edged hat. He's a German actor and stuntman, part of Jackie Chan's stunt team. He's an exceptional martial artist, and with his stunt experience, made him perfect for the role by producers, and he contributed to the choreographing fight scenes in the film, which I thought was pretty cool. So actors that were approached for this film were Joel Edgerton, as Kano. He was rumored, another Australian and fan favorite for Kano. No official reports confirm him that he was offered the role, but I know a lot of people on the internet were calling for him because he's a good actor and they wanted him to portray Kano. They thought he embodied Kano. Ryan Reynolds was fan casted as Johnny Cage. Fans speculated about Reynolds playing Johnny Cage. No evidence suggests he was ever approached, as Johnny Cage did not appear in this film. Sorry, I spoiled it a little bit. Scott Adkins, which I thought would have been a good person to pick for this film, had some potential involvement. He's a British martial artist and known for the Undisputed series. He's also in Ip Man 4 as the bad guy. Fans suggested him for the role of Kano or Johnny Cage. No official reports of casting were discussed with him, which is unfortunate. Louis Tan also auditioned for other roles. Now, Louis Tan was given the role of Cole Young, and he auditioned for other roles. And the other roles he auditioned for was Kung Lao and Liu Kang. Producers created the role of Cole Young specifically for him because they thought he could lead the film. And the reasons for casting decisions and rejections, they wanted to focus again on authenticity. If you had to know some martial arts, you had to be in physical tip-top shape. And then some actors that they reached out to that we weren't told about had some, participation and prior commitments that they couldn't get to. Also, COVID-19 impacted this film for availability and reshoots or promotion activities with the other actors they try to reach out to. Again, this is done during COVID, which was really hard to do films. Some characters from the games were omitted to streamline the story, and the intent was to introduce characters and potential sequels. So again, they're trying to build off future success if this film makes it big. For training and preparation, the film had intense physical training. Cast underwent rigorous martial arts and physical training regimens, worked with fight choreographers to learn complex sequences. The characters were researched, actors studied the video games. I remember reading that our guy, Mr. Sonata, said he read all of Scorpion's lore and he played all the games, and he said he could not beat the games because he was getting his ass kicked the whole time. But it was fun to learn about the character, and as he laughed saying this, which I thought was pretty hilarious. They also engaged with fan expectations to deliver authentic portrayals. But I thought was kind of cool. They kind of were reaching out to the fan base to see how they felt about things to get them out there. Some of the challenges they face were they're trying to balance that fan service with storytelling, which is kind of hard to do when you have such a popular series. Also, the stunt work and safety. There's a lot of high risk stunts in this film, and it required meticulous planning. A lot of wire effects were used in this film, and when you use wire effects, it's dangerous. So you have to make sure you are using proper safety protocols for it. And I think that's what makes this film look so good is the wire effects they use in it. But they ensured that most safety protocols were strictly followed for that. So that is our history of the video game, our choosing of a director, our resurrection from the hell of developmental hell, that is, and our choosing of the cast. My man Tony, tell me about the soundtrack, my dude.
All right, the soundtrack, which came out April 16th, 2021. It was put together by Benjamin Wallfish. I was checking in earlier on some of his other work, which very impressive. He has worked on movies like Blade Runner 2049, excellent soundtrack. The brand new It movies, It Chapter 2 and the first It, that was the remakes. He did the music in there. Obviously scary stuff to me. Even the Invisible Man that came out, and the recent which was really kind of cool to see that he was a part of, is the Alien Romulus. He did the music for that also. So really awesome soundtrack. So he's on board, and the main goal, it seems, by doing research, is that he wants to bring the sound back like in the original games, and I think he does accomplish that. Lead off track is Techno Syndrome 2021, which is pretty much a play off of the original theme from the video game, which he kind of remixes and redoes. there's 24 tracks on the soundtrack, 79 minutes. While doing research, there's some really cool vinyl of the soundtrack that would be a very interesting thing to own. What's really kind of cool is that he took this as a great opportunity to embrace the iconic fan base by redoing some of those tracks that they were familiar with by some of those original games and rebooting them for this new movie, as opposed to, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do my own songs. I'm not going to really care. So he wanted to honor the fans, which I thought was great. You know, by doing a lot of research of people, what they thought of it, you know, a nice tight soundtrack that definitely helps embody what this movie was trying to represent. And I just think that after listening to this and after listening to some of his other work, Benjamin Wallfish does a really good job at bringing what I think would be some really great cinematography to the forefront with his great music that he has put together for the soundtrack. And even if you're not a fan of like electronic music, you don't have to, I think you have to be a fan of like electronic music to like the soundtrack, because the sounds, there's a lot of just good sounds all around. And you can hear them throughout the whole movie. But a really good soundtrack that I think definitely I honestly had totally forgot about since I had watched it the last time, and it was neat to dig back through it. It was definitely he said this whole entire experience while making this soundtrack was just because he had a lot of what the game was putting out there, it made his job a whole lot easier. So definitely a cool soundtrack.
Awesome, man. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So that is our film development, my man. Are you ready to get into this film breakdown?
Let's do it.
See the arc? He starts down here. He ends up here. Where's my arc, Paulie?
Where's my arc, Polly?
I love The Sopranos, as you can see there in
I love it.
in our little opening and tidbits. So the film opens in feudal Japan in 1617. It begins in the 17th century Japan, where Hanzo Hayashi lives peacefully with his family. The tranquility is shattered when the Lin Kuei clan, led by Bihan, aka Sub-Zero, attack Hanzo's compound. What I love about the opening is the scenery and the cinematography of it. I really like the fact that you see his wife digging with the garden tool that eventually will become his spear, and that was used in from it was authentic how Japanese warriors did use that as a weapon in the 1700s, which I thought was kind of cool. We see Bihan and his crew of Lin Kuei speaking Mandarin. At first they come out with authentic to the characters as Chinese and Japanese, as Hanzo Hayashi is Japanese. And we see Bihan actually go up to Hanzo's wife and child, and we see him first display his powers as Sub-Zero. Now, before we keep going, I just want to let you know, if you are listening on the audio version, I could not get great audio sound clips. This film is not known for dialogue, so I am showing some action sequences on the YouTube. So if you're listening audioly and you want to see what they look like, check us out on the YouTube at Statistic Penguin Studios, and you'll see them. So I have a bunch of clips to check out. I have a little bit of audio stuff, but mostly from the video game that I'll play later on. But with that, we see Bihan actually do that little cool thing with the ice coming out of his hand, and I thought that was pretty cool how it looked pretty seamless in terms of graphics. I don't know if they did it practically. I should have did more research on it if it was a practical effect or CGI, but it looked pretty cool the way it built up.
That's what I think I like about the movie the most is it was like out of left field how good it looked. Like I was thinking this was going to be cheesy, like Chris Klein's Street Fighter that came out. Like I was just thinking bad, and honestly, it's the direct opposite. And I'm honestly not at this point looking at this movie. I'm not like nostalgic watching it because I like Mortal Kombat. I just want to see a good movie, and a scene like what you just showed definitely knows what you're getting involved in.
Yeah, I really like the scene. Like I said, I like the whole opening scene. I like the way it plays off. I like the way the story begins. We see the two characters of Scorpion and Sub-Zero eventually come face to face after uh, Hanzo finds out that his son and wife have been killed by Sub-Zero. They're frozen to death, which I think it's pretty sad the way he looks at him and starts crying. He then grabs the tool that she was using and starts going like ape shit on all the Lin Kuei, just destroying them. And there's a lot of blood. It's very gory in this film. And then he has a showdown with Bihan in the woods, which is, of course, if you played the games, you know the woods does play a stage. They're scary woods, but they're not scary in this. It's mostly in the forest, but it's kind of cool. And we see him use his spear for the first time. And I think the characters who played the role, Joseph Tassum and Hiroyuko Sanada, did a great job. One speaking again in Japanese and the other in Mandarin when they were communicating, which I thought was awesome because they're still staying true to the authenticity of their characters. They played a lot off, their emotions in terms of the way they were fighting. You kind of felt bad for Sanada as he was fighting Hayashi, aka Scorpion. And this is when he's a human. He hasn't gone to another realm yet. And unfortunately for him, he gets killed by Sub-Zero and he gets pretty jacked up.
Yeah, I mean, that was like you said, the movie isn't shy on gore.
Yeah, he gets pretty jacked up, and we might be showing some of the gore in here in a little bit. But we then cut to, they leave Hasashi to die. He eventually crawls, and before he has another child that his wife hid away when Lin Kuei came to fight a baby, he eventually passes away and basically fades away into another realm. And we see Raiden come down and grab the child, the crying child, and take him away. And we cut to the present where we see the character of Cole Young introduced. And Cole Young, again, is an MMA fighter who's a struggling MMA fighter in Chicago. And he bears a mysterious dragon-shaped birthmark on him. He participates in low-paying fights to support his family. He's
Wait
a
a
former
minute,
champion.
is this Roadhouse, the new one, spinoff? He's an MMA fighter, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll just come plain out and say it. I think Cole Young is the worst character of this whole film.
They could have went with a better name, at least.
Yeah, I just don't. His character to me is like bland.
Well, anytime I hear the name Cole, I think a bachelor party where he's like somebody order an asshole from room service. That's generally, but I would happen to concur with you. I mean, definitely. But I also, when you were explaining in the development, I definitely kind of think it was kind of cool that they did bring the character, but they just could have did a better character than the character.
They could have fleshed him out better.
Yeah.
He was again specifically created to film to serve as an audience surrogate, so basically as an audience experiencing this. I just think he was kind of weak. Louis Tan's awesome martial artist. I just think his acting is kind of weak too. I also thought it hilarious that his daughter was his trainer. When he's fighting the guy in the cage and the guy's beating the shit out of him, all she can say is, "Dad, use your uppercut." So after his fight for $200 of getting his ass kicked, and he's supposed to be a former middleweight MMA fighter that had a title, he gets approached by Jax, who asks him about the tattoo on him, which he believed was a tattoo, but we find that Cole has had the marking on him since birth, which Jax finds crazy and interesting. And you see him make a phone call to somebody to say he's found him, and Cole and his family go get ice cream. And at this time, I believe they're in no, they're in Chicago, which surprises me because it starts to snow and they become surprised. Maybe because it was in July, I don't know, but they become surprised, and we see that Bihan is hunting Cole. I thought that scene was pretty cool too. Again, the CGI looked flawless there. Sub-Zero now is in his dark suit. He's not in the traditional blue as we would see him in the video games, more of a darker blue, but he looks pretty badass. And the fact that he's walking and just shooting down the ice, hail looked pretty cool as he's walking down the street. Uh, Cole and his family are rescued by Jax, who pulls up in a car, tries to get away. He tells them, he's gonna fight Sub-Zero and to take their car to someplace safe and then meet up with this woman called Sonya Blade in Indiana. So Cole does so. He drives away and Jax takes out his gun and goes after Bihan. And one of my favorite quotes from this is when him and Bihan are fighting, Jax and Bihan are fighting, Jax tells him 6 tours, motherfucker. Which is so random to say, but he eventually fights him, and we get one of the first fatalities in the film, even though it was a fatality, and it's brutal.
Yeah,
I always thought that part was cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah. So we assume Jax is dead. His arms are broken off. They turned to ice and were broken off. And I thought that was a cool way to get Jax's arms away from him.
Yeah.
So after we see this, we see that Cole goes to meet up with Sonya Blade, who tackles him and then flashes a flashlight at him to where he's scared, which I thought when I first saw the film again, I thought she was holding a gun. I rewatched it yesterday and I realized she was just holding a flashlight. Which is crazy. But the cool thing is Sonya Blade takes him in, explains the markings of the tattoo, saying that there's fighters that have been given this tattoo. And they are basically given a passage into different realms. And she said she did a lot of research. Now, when she's showing the research she's done, you can see a lot of characters from the video games in there. You see Koda Khan, you see Nightwolf's in there, the indigenous character, and you even see some Shao Kahn character as well. So you look out for the Easter eggs of this part of the film, which I thought was kind of cool. She then brings him into this room where they meet this guy named Kano.
Oh, hello, sunshine. Who are you?
It's Kano.
It's Kano.
And he's like, Kano who? Kano, know your fucking business. But during this, they are attacked by the reptiles, and Reptile, the fighter, has gone through a transition in the video games. If you play the games, he was a ninja who was a reptile underneath the ninja gear. Then they made him into an actual reptile. Then they turn him back into a ninja, and then they turn him back into a reptile. So he's now a reptile. And this film takes the character of him actually being a reptile, and they have a battle between the reptiles and the 3 characters of Kano, Liu Kang, and Sonya Blade. And we see another iconic fatality here from Kano.
Kano wins.
See? My line. Kano wins. I love
Yeah. What'd you think of that scene where he ripped out the heart, Tom?
That's why I picked it. When I rewatched it now, honestly, I had forgot about that lizard. I thought that whole fight scene was honestly really cool. The more we keep going into it, the one thing I just can't stress enough is the effects in this movie are flawless.
Yeah.
It's a perfect Friday night movie. You're not a fan of the game, you never even heard of it, just a movie in general. It's just fun. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's a good one to experience. If you're like a effects guy and you don't like seeing too much CGI like crazy, this one I think has a nice blend of it.
Yes, and as you state, I mean, this is also a good example of getting just the right actors to pull off, you know you know, these parts, because you get somebody like, that isn't, Asian for some of these roles, it's gonna ruin it, and I think that's what ruined, like, Annihilation, say, for instance.
Yeah, I think it did too. Um, it's nice to have authentic characters play the their authentic ethnicities for the authentic actors play the authentic ethnicities for the characters. And I think they did a good job in this film, casting them. The cool thing is too that after they have this battle and Kano rips out the heart, they convince him to take them to Raiden's temple, which is where Sonya's been trying to track. And apparently the Black Dragon clan, which Kano is a leader of, which I always thought was funny because he's Australian, but the Black Dragon clan uh, used to run weapons out of that temple, and Kano knows where it's at. Now they try to convince him to take it. He says he don't have enough money to pay him, and Sonya Blade says she offered him $1 million to take them. Well, if you watch the film, they're actually at like a trailer park, like junkyard, and he's like, "You have $1 million living in this shithole," and she's like, "Hey, I grew up here my whole life." And she's like, just giving him shit for it. And she's like, "I'll give you 2 million." And he says, "Okay, I'll do it for 2 million, and I get to keep whatever they find in the temple." And she's like, "No problem." And he walks away. And Cole asks her, "You really got $2 million?" She's like, "No, I grew up in this shithole," whatever. Which kind of plays off the comedy, which is another part they go into when they're actually in the plane and they're about to jump. Cole gets anxious about jumping off the plane, but Kano's got some advice for him.
It'll be okay. Just gotta jump, count to 3, till they sky.
All right, simple. But how do we know gonna die, princess? What?
You're fucking kidding.
I just love how he just pushes him out of the way and just like pushes him out the plane. "You'll be all right, princess." And he pushes him out. They then are walking in the desert to where Kano tells them, they're like, "How far is the temple?" He's like, "Oh, we're about 27 clicks. 29 if you're lucky. 32 should be about right." And he's like, "What the fuck?" So he decides to argue with Sonya Blade, who has mentioned she does not have a marking. She says Jax killed one of the people to get the marking that they were chasing in their special forces. Kano happened to kill the person that they were hunting down with a marking. He went behind them and killed him cowardly. So she kind of envies Kano for having the marking of the dragon on him. And him and her get into this big fight to where he tells her to take it. She beats the shit out of him, but doesn't kill him. And they meet up with a mysterious man by the name of Liu Kang coming towards them, and he surprises them with an attack.
I'm not your enemy. I'm Liu Kang.
I love that part. I actually like that scene, like where he shoots up the fireball. It doesn't look cheesy at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Again, I thought the character of Liu Kang, although he is not the main vocal point of this film, I thought the way they wrote him in for Liu Lin to do his job of playing him, I thought he did an exceptional job. Liu Kang lets them know that they are going to be brought to Raiden's temple, and he wants to train them for the upcoming tournament. Now, Kano was thinking they were full of shit with all this fighting in the realms and whatnot, but he just basically ripped the heart out of a lizard. That still didn't convince him. But once Liu Kang shot a fireball at him, he he became convinced, as he said, "Fuck what you're saying. Tell me, how the hell did you shoot a fireball at me?" And he says it's an arcana, which is a special ability that the fighters who have the emblem on them gain at their training. So they begin to train after they meet Raiden. Raiden again, I love the character, the guy who played Raiden. I thought he did a good job in this film, Tadabu Asano, because he's an authentic Japanese character, Japanese ethnicity character playing a Japanese god. But he's not very like shown a lot in this film. He has like he wavers in and out. He kind of does his own thing, like me and Tony explained earlier. But after he meets the main characters, he again tells Sonya Blade that she doesn't even have a marking. He basically says that Cole's a loser fighter, which he is, and he says Kano's a crook, which he is. And he's like, "This is all I have to work with." So they said they'll train, and they're gonna train to get their Arcana. And while trained, they play tribute to spamming in the video game. Now, if you ever played Mortal Kombat 1 or 2, you are familiar with the spam.
Cute. Real cute. Let's see you try down again. That's the only move you know, mate. Ah! Oh, fuck.
Like, I know that if you play the game, and for those listening, they did the sweep kick of backwards B or down and B, which you just basically sweep your character and just spam that to keep sweeping the opponent, which pisses them off because there's no way to block it. They eventually entered a way in Mortal Kombat 3 to stop you from doing so. But I love that they had that little tribute in this movie, Tone.
That was good. That was really good. I always used to do that.
Yeah, and they had Kano do the talking of it. And like I said, the person who plays Kano in this film, it's just Josh Lawson just does a great job. Like, he's hilarious. You can't not love him like in the film. Like, even though he's an asshole, you can't not love him. He's disgusting too. So as they train to unlock their Arcana and gain power granted to those with the dragon mark, Kano finally discovers him because he gets mad that they won't give him an egg roll, which I think is hilarious.
Now sit down, shut up, and pass me a fucking egg roll!
And I love, he's like, I did it. I told you I was going to be the first one to get my Arcana. I shot a laser out of my fucking eye. It's better than fire. That's what he said. So Kano now has his Arcana. He's the first one to get it. And during this time, since Sonya Blade can't train with the other fighters because she doesn't have a marking, she discovers that Jax is being taken care of. So Jax survived. He's being taken care of by the monks of this temple, and they gave him robotic arms.
Again. Come on, you got this.
Now, I know you snorted at that because you had to laugh.
Yeah.
That's the only time I thought that the effects looked bad.
They did right there with the arms. The way they look.
Yeah, they're so tiny.
I know.
And he's like, that's why I always laugh. He's like, God damn it, when he punches the bag. But, they had to add something in there for Jax to do. They're trying to keep up with the story and the games and the authenticity of the game. So I thought that was kind of funny. But, the concept of the Arcana was introduced in the film to explain the character's supernatural abilities. I did like that aspect because you never knew why these characters had these abilities, but you thought it was just from martial arts training. But they explain, they kind of give you an explanation of why they have these abilities, which is kind of cool. We then see that Shang Tsung has amassed a group of fighters in Melina, in Cabal, who I think is another hilarious character in here. As Shang Tsung along with Bihan, he tells them, "Hey, we have to go and destroy Earth's warriors before the tournament." And he calls out the flying girl, Natara, and he says, "My beautiful Natara." And I love Cabal's response, "Yeah, that shriek is a real turn on." Which always cracks me up. The Cabal guy who played Cabal was awesome. Daniel Nelson, he was awesome in this film too. Great comedic timing with his lines. They go to attack the temple, and when they attack the temple, they aren't breaking any rules because they say no elder god is going to stop them from doing so, and they're trying to kill the Earth Realm warriors before the tournament, because if they lose, they automatically win their 10th tournament in a row. With Raiko, Natara, and Melina and Cabal along with Shang Tsung, they go in to fight. But Raiden comes and saves the day by erecting a shield to protect the Earth Realm fighters, buying them some time. Which I thought was kind of cool. I'm having a graphic there. Chin Han, who portrays Shang Tsung, brought a menacing presence to being the antagonist of this film. I thought he did a really good job. And the introduction of lesser-known characters as Natara and Raiko pleased longtime fans, which, those are characters that don't get mentioned a lot. Although Raiko is kind of like a ninja, he had like a black scarring on his face. He was like a poor man Sub-Zero, I always called him. in the games. He threw like a lot of knives too. And this one, he's more of a brute. He's played by Nathan Jones, who is more popular probably because of wrestling. One, he was in the WWE. He was in the movie The Protector. He was in Mad Max Fury Road as Rictus Erectus, which I thought was funny. His name is hilarious. He was also, I believe, in 300. He was one of the monsters that fight the Spartans, I believe. Let me see. Was he? No, he was in The Condemned, Fearless, and Troy. He was in Troy. Okay, he was in Troy. So I got him mixed up with somebody. But he's known for as a character actor for playing big guys, and it's kind of cool seeing him as Raiko. So Raiden now has stopped the assault on the temple. And this is where the movie kind of another reason why I don't like the Cole character, because he goes and tells Raiden that he doesn't think he belongs there because he misses his family. He misses his wife, and the Earth needs you to save its humankind, but you miss your family, so you can't be there. So Raiden kicks his ass out and tells him to go home. So he teleports them to where they're staying, and while he's staying, Kano is approached by his old buddy Cabal.
Hey, Kano. It's been a while.
You getting enough sleep, mate?
Oh,
hey, Kano. It's been a while.
You getting enough sleep, mate? Your eyes are a little redder than usual.
You got a big mouth for someone who's standing on the wrong side of the electric fence, tough guy.
Yeah, I love how he's like, look at that motherfucking Kano right there. Like, that line always cracks me up. Like, Cabal's dialogue is so great in this film. He's such an asshole.
Yes.
But he gets Kano to flip by saying that he could name his price to Shang Tsung. He could double it and then double it again, and he'll pay him. Which Kano is, of course, greedy. And he takes down the medallion to break the force field around them, and they start attacking the warriors. At this time, Cole's family is attacked by Goro. Now, this is one of a part of the film too that I do not have good feelings about. Tone, like I thought they kind of messed with my man Goro. Like in the first one, the animatronics for the puppet of Goro was awesome. This one was mostly CGI, and he's like gone. Yeah, he's gone like right away though. They kind of like got rid of him quickly.
Yeah, that problem I do agree. I thought he looked cool, but a character as important as he is, he should be in it just a little bit more.
Yeah, and during the fight with Goro, Cole earns his Arcana by getting this basically protective armor and tonfas, and he fucks Goro. Cutting off his hand, as in the scene right there. Yeah, he jacks him up. And while Cole's fighting Goro, Kung Lao, which I don't have the clip for, uses his famous fatality of throwing his hat in the ground and kills Natara as she comes at him, basically slices her in half with his blade and does the flawless victory line, which we all love. Cole is then summoned back to the temple as Raiden kind of set him up, knowing that he would come back and earn his Arcana. He tells Shang Tsung, "Thank you for giving my warrior his Arcana." Because Shang Tsung had sent Goro after his family. Shang Tsung gets pissed and tells Bihan to stop Raiden from transporting his fighters, mainly Cole, to which Bihan shoots an ice ball that hits Cole out of the transporting, I guess, electricity. Then Kung Lao throws his hat at him, and Shang Tsung gets really pissed and decides to steal his soul.
You're so smart.
I thought that scene was pretty cool too.
That was cool.
Yeah, a lot better than the original when he just sucks the white out of that guy.
Yeah.
The white's all that guy. He just turns to stone looking. But I don't know if your soul is mine is better than our guy in the first one. What do you think?
Smooth's got some really cool, like if it gives me like just the way that green looked. It likes like if Big Trouble in Little China was a new movie today, that would be in it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So Cole's arcana and his armor are unique to the film because it symbolizes his connection to Scorpion. They are the colors of Scorpion, which is black and gold. The kunai dagger serves as a significant link between Cole and his ancestral lineage, which we see. When they are all teleported to, I guess, like this safe zone, they ask why didn't he save? They ask Raiden why he didn't save Kung Lao. He says he can't get involved, but he kind of breaks that in later in the film, which doesn't make any sense. So he could have saved Kung Lao, but I guess he chose not to. They then decide that they're going to fight the warriors individually of Shang Tsung's team, but they find out that Cole's family has been taken by Bihan. And this begins the final third of the film to where we have individual fights that are one-on-one. The first fight that we see is Jax versus Raiko, and we see them fighting on the bridge from Mortal Kombat 2 that we see the pit underneath, which I thought was really cool. We also see a killer fatality and tribute to the video games that Jax performs.
Yeah, these motherfuckers work.
Another great line too is he crushes his head with his robotic arms, which he gained his arcana from lifting a boulder off Sonya after the fight with the warriors that invaded the temple. He saved her by lifting a boulder off her, which I thought was kind of cool. He did it for love of his girl. But Jax destroys Raiko by squashing his head, so he won't be in Mortal Kombat 2 unless he's resurrected. Then we see Sonya versus Kano, and it was an interesting way they killed Kano here.
Tell me, Blondie, how does that feel?
Feels fucking amazing, mate.
Just like that.
Yeah, with a gnome. She killed him with a gnome, and she gets the mark, which I thought was cool. Probably the best kill in the movie to me, which I really loved, is the Cabal Liu Kang fight. It pays tribute to what you just said earlier, turning into a dragon, the Aminality. I forget what it's called. Aminality, I think it's called. The Animality or whatever the hell. I can't say it because I can't pronounce shit. But it goes into like the history of the game if you think about it, because Liu Kang in the first game had a horrible fatality. I think it was like a bicycle, like not even a bicycle, like a cartwheel kick and an uppercut. It was just like, what is he? That's not even like, he didn't even like, if he broke the guy's neck or anything. But in the second game, they made him turn into a fucking dragon and he ate half of you.
That was cool.
And in this movie, they do a badass job of transitioning his fatality. I love Cabal saying, "Oh shit," as the dragon's about to come down on him. That to me was awesome. It was awesomely shot. I thought it looked cool. Like the CGI still holds up. Like again, we talked about the effects in this movie are really, really good.
They're great. Just really great. I think it's greatest attribute.
Mm-hmm. So those are the individual fights from those three characters, and a little bit of trivia about these. So we said Jax's fatality mirrors his finishing move from the games. Sonya acquisition of Kano's mark follows the game's lore, where marks can be transferred, and then the fatalities are recreated meticulously to satisfy fans of the series. And we kind of see that with Liu Kang turning into the Dragon of Fire. We see Jax with the smashing of the head. Sonya doesn't do a gnome kill in the game, so that was. That was a unique one, but it kind of like serves a purpose, as Kano says earlier in the film he's scared of gnome statues, which is okay. We then get to our final battle with Sub-Zero and Cole. Sub-Zero's beating the shit out of Cole, and as he comes to strike, and we hear this.
Get over here!
Which I thought was pretty cool. It's not the Ed Boon.
Get over here!
But it's a nice little tribute to the film and to the games and the original film. I thought he looked pretty badass in his ninja gear.
He did. Really cool.
Yeah, and then we see the final battle between Scorpion, Cole, and Sub-Zero, where they defeat him. He gets set on fire and eventually killed. We find that this is basically a prequel to the tournament. We did not see the tournament. We seen them just fighting people before the tournament. Now they're going to be heading to the tournament, and they're told, and Raiden tells them that he helped out Cole by sending Scorpion to help fight Sub-Zero, which again kind of contradicts what he said earlier when he couldn't save Kung Lao. So I guess Kung Lao wasn't that high on the food chain.
No, he had certain things he had planned.
Unless he ate Raiden's egg roll because he liked to eat egg rolls like when he was stealing them from Kano. But this again, the Hellfire scene that Scorpion kills Sub-Zero with is a Scorpion fatality. Again, a signature fatality from the game. We find that they are sent to find new warriors to help with the fight in the tournament. And the final shot is Cole saying to the manager that he was fighting for $200 for, he's going to Hollywood, and we see basically the silhouette and belt buckle of Johnny Cage, making him a prominent character in the future sequels. We also learned that when this was filmed and had success, Joseph Taslim, who plays Bihan, signed a multi-picture deal indicating that Sub-Zero will probably return in the sequels. Now, there are rumors that he could be Noob Sabu, which is Bihan's alter ego, or he could just be his younger brother. We don't know. But that's how the film ends. My man, give me some final thoughts on it.
A great movie all around. Very, for me, when the movie was released, it was released on HBO Max during the age of COVID. I only remember every month of that year they released a new movie, and really there was only a handful of good ones. This was one of them, and I was just really shocked and surprised with character development. A quick on your feet movie. Even just rewatching it here a little while ago, it's really easy to watch in a positive way.
Yeah, I thought it did fan service. It had great action in it. Was it the best movie? No, but I thought coming from when reboots have been sucky so bad, and this one coming out, I was worried it was gonna be bad, and it turned out to be pretty good. It had some great action in it. It had, of course, it had Sonata, who was one of my favorite, Japanese actors in it. Again, I did not resonate too well with Cole Young. I understand why he's in there. I thought his character was weak, but I thought the other characters kind of made up for him being a weak character. I also thought that the person who played Kano did an awesome job. Like him and Cabal, like they cracked me up during the movie.
Did great job.
And like we said earlier, the effects were awesome. Like they did a good job, and they still pretty much hold up even 3 years later. And I think they'll hold up for a remarkable amount of time, going forward, unless they actually have some people really shoot out fire from their. Well, what'd you think of the character Melina here? You showing me a picture of her. I thought they kind of like maybe didn't expand upon her. She's supposed to be a sister of.
Well, that's the hard part. When you got so many of these characters from the game, you're like trying to add fan service. You're trying to show some of the cool things that they do, and then some of them you are going to miss, you know what I mean? Because instead you decided to go with Cole, which probably could have, like I said, it was a good idea, but the movie was so good with the graphics and the story that I don't even know if Cole was necessary.
Yeah, and I didn't mention in the breakdown, but Melina does get killed by Sonya after she gets her Arcana. Sonya does her ring blaster, and it shoots a hole. And they do the fatality that you see in the new Mortal Kombat, where she looks through the hole of the body, and you see her spine. And then that's how you see Sonya. That was pretty cool. But I kind of feel like they wasted the character Melina. But then again, they had to kill some people off for the sequel, so I guess
It's true.
So that is our breakdown of the film. Tone, you want to get into some critical reception of this?
Let's dig in.
Okay.
You know that fat cocksucker says I look like the Shah of Iran?
Who does? Tony.
never got that at all.
Like we said, the film had a budget of $55 million and made $84 million at the box office. And as Tony had mentioned, this film was released on HBO Max, which people drew a lot of criticism for because they said it could have made more money at the box office. But it was during COVID, so $84 million during a COVID age was good. It also made $13 million on home sales, and it's still streaming on HBO Max. Now, it did have positive and negative reviews. We're going to go through both here. For the positive reviews, people were saying it had a faithful adaptation and fan service. The action and fight sequences were loved by Josh Wynn, who is from Nerd Reactor. He praised the film for delivering brutal fights and fatalities that fans have been waiting for, highlighting its commitment to the game's violent combat. Megan Navarro of Bloody Disgusting commended the impressive choreography and visceral action, knowing that the fight scenes are a standout element. For the visual fidelity, Mike Reyes of Cinnamon Blend appreciated the stunning visual effects that bring the game's signature moves to life, as well as Germain Lussier of Gizmodo mentioned that the films look fantastic with attention to detail in costumes and sets that immerses viewers in the Mortal Kombat universe. And I agree with that. The looks and the effects, as well as the costumes, were awesome, as well as the sets. The Easter eggs and references were loved here by James Marsh of South China Morning Post, who enjoyed the numerous nods to the games, saying that fans would delight in spotting the many references sprinkled throughout. And like I said, there are a lot of Easter eggs you have to look out for in the film. Even rewatching it, I saw of Kota Khan. I totally forgot he was in the film, and he was just a drawing on there. When they go to Raiden's temple, you see Shao Kahn in there. When they fight at the temple for Liu Kang, when he fights Cabal, there's a big statue of Shao Kahn standing there they're at the bottom of his feet, which I thought was pretty cool. So you have to look out for those. There was praise for the strong performances and casting. Standout actors Hiroku Sanada and Joe Taslim, who both played Scorpion and Sub-Zero, received acclaim for bringing depth and intensity to the roles. David Elric of the IndieWire noted that their performance elevated the martial beyond typical video games adaptations. Diverse and authentic casting. Christy Punchko of IGN applauded the film for casting actors and match the characters' ethnic backgrounds, adding authenticity to the portrayal. For entertainment value, pacing and engagement was loved by Richard Trenholm of CNET, who described the film as a fast-paced, entertaining ride that doesn't overstay its welcome. And the appeal to fans was another big thing that people loved, such as Simon Thompson of Forbes magazine commented that the film's movie embraces what fans loved about the games, making it a fun experience for longtime followers. That's all the positive stuff. And here's the negative stuff. People thought there was a weak narrative and character developments from an underdeveloped plot. Owen Gleiberman of Variety criticized the film as a soulless heap of fight scenes with barely coherent story connecting them.
What the fuck did they want?
Yeah,
did they want like a Godfather type, where we got these in-depth characters that are just so deep, and then they fight, and then it's like, what's going on here?
Look what they did to my boy. Look at my boy. You're gonna love this one from Brian Lowry of CNN. He mentioned that the plot feels like a thin excuse to move one fight to the next. Did he even fucking play the game?
but like, that's, again, I think that the point of the movie was to make people who like the game, and I haven't played the game in a long time, but like I told you, I said a little while ago, the movie's fast on its feet. That's the point. The point is to keep you moving, because if it's not going to play out the way I think it should. It's going to be kind of like.
But the movie is based off a fucking tournament fighter. They had lore in the background, but it was still a tournament fighter.
We need Brian Thompson from Cobra to be Brian Lowry.
Did he not see that? You brought it up earlier. What happens when you try to do a more underdeveloped story? Developed story is when you have like Street Fighter in a movie. That was more like a horrible story because they wanted more depth to the material.
That's true.
Which I thought also they had Guile, who was an American played by a French guy. But there was also criticism on lack of emotional depth. David Sims of The Atlantic pointed out that the characters are paper thin, making it hard to invest in their journeys. Here's one that I kind of agree with: the introduction of Cole Young. He's an unnecessary protagonist. Robbie Collin of The Telegraph described Cole Young as a bland lead who pales in comparisons to the game's iconic characters, and I agree with that one.
That's true.
Jesse Hasinger of the AV Club argued that adding a new character feels unnecessary and detracts from fan favorites. I don't so much agree with that. I think that it was a good idea to do so. I just think the character was bland.
It's true.
For it was also criticized for inconsistent tone and pacing. Uneven execution was one of the main things. Alonso Duralde of The Rap noted that the film struggles to balance serious moments with campy elements, resulting in a jarring tonal shift, which I don't disagree with. The film has rushed storytelling. Again, I guess I never played the game, but Katie Reif of the AV Club criticized the pacing, saying it feels both rushed and sluggish, glossing over important details. Okay. There was underutilization of key characters that was given a lot of criticism by limited screen time. Matthew Mongol of the Austin Chronicle expressed disappointment that beloved characters like Liu Kang and Kung Lao are sidelined. I didn't hate that. It's something new. It's even though he wasn't focal points, I thought it was a cool way of introducing them.
The only thing I could see with something as awesome as this is if HBO Max would have made it more like maybe a TV show.
Yeah.
That
Which is why
could have worked.
they try to get the guy who did The Legacy to do it because he did those short films, and I thought he would have did a good job too. It just unfortunately didn't work out for him. The antagonist lacks impact, according to Steve Rose of The Guardian. He commented that villains like Shang Tsung and Goro are introduced without proper buildup, diminishing their impact. I agree about Goro. Goro was just kind of introduced to Shadow, and then he just came and fought Cole and was killed. But Shang Tsung was built up. He was talking shit the whole time. There's also dialogue and writing issues. Cliched lines were one of the criticisms by Peter Durbridge of Variety. He observed that the script is filled with clunky expose and one-liners that fail to land. Well,
it's official. You suck.
And then oh man, Perry's gonna get him. And the last criticism was by Benjamin Lee of The Guardian. He said there was a lot of forced humor. Mentioned that attempts at humor, primarily through Kano, often feel out of place and disrupt the film's tone. I totally disagree with that.
Feels that way. I have to agree.
Yeah, I that's what the ultimate word thinks about that. Rotten Tomatoes, as of September 2021, the film had an approval rating of approximately 55%, indicating a Rick's response. The film has a Metascore of 44 out of 100, which is surprisingly bad, which gives it an unfavorable views. And the audiences gave the film a grade of B+, showing a more positive reception among viewers compared to critics. And that's the way it's always going to be when it comes to video game films. The cultural impact. This movie kind of revitalized the video games into films. They're starting, you kind of got Fallout coming out with a series now. You got Halo, the series coming out. You have, I believe there's a Silent Hill film in the works. There is I believe The Darkness, which is another game that I love, is finally being talked about being made into a feature film again, which I thought was cool. This kind of brought back Constantine, even though Keanu Reeves was pushing for it, it kind of brought back that the video game supernatural element stuff can work again. So that was kind of cool. Todd Garner, who was a producer on this film, began showing that there was going to be a sequel made. If you follow his Twitter, you can see that he's posted many shots from the sequel, including a hand of Quan Chi, which is a character from the games, and Shao Kahn with Silhouette, which is the main antagonist of the game from the second one on. Eventually they do get other antagonists, but it's kind of cool that they're mentioning that. And from what I was reading, the sequel is supposed to take place in the tournament. And if it does well, the third film will take place the aftermath of the tournament, which I think is pretty cool. So they're pacing out, they're planning out their storylines for the film. Overall, I thought I really enjoyed this film, Tone. When I rewatched it, I enjoyed it. I love the tribute and fan service it gives to the video game. It's not meant to be an Oscar-winning film. It's supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like I said, great popcorn Friday night flick.
Yeah, and I thought they did a very, very good job on it. I didn't do any fan theory for this because this is a video game and there's no fan theory on video games. But I will say if you haven't seen this one, check it out. It's on HBO Max.
Do it.
Definitely check this one out. It's worth the time. It's I think an hour and a half, and the fight scenes are awesome in it.
They're great. Definitely worth it. If nothing more than the cinematography and the FX alone.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Hopefully, we did a good job of breaking it down and getting you guys interested. If you watched on the YouTube, you see all the scenes I showed. If you're listening to the audio version, hopefully I explained these scenes to you and what we were showing in terms of the sound clips. Next film we do will be a more detailed sound clips. Just as for this one, I couldn't really, the dialogue wasn't great for it. So, I just did many clips of Kano when Cabal drops. You would have been very happy about it. But that's this week's breakdown into Mortal Kombat. Now, Tone, we have not discussed what we're going to do next week. We're going to go back to the old format, so we will keep you updated on what we're going to do next week. Soon, we'll announce it, and then we'll put it out on the Twitters and Blue Sky. Any final closing remarks on this one, Tone?
Great movie, great all-around flick. Excellent cinematography. Was really cool to dig into something different like this tonight.
Yeah, it was a nice little going back into the deep dives, and we eased our way in with Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
But I know we got some good deep dives coming up soon, but this is a nice way to ease our way back into it, my man.
Definitely.
Before we go into Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, we're going to do a little housekeeping here. If you have not bought your shirt to support our guy, Gordo, who is going to meet the doctor in a couple of weeks to get quadruple bypass surgery, it looks like, to help with his medical bills. Gordo is one of the biggest supporters of our show and other shows such as the 108. He also helps out with the Chicago Sports Bums. He's a big fan there. I've hung out with Gordo many times at the Bums house for like wrestling events. He's also come to all of our events that we have. Just an awesome dude to hang out with. He's hilarious, a big supporter of ours. And if you want to help him out, go over to this Penguin Studios, that big cartel, and buy one of Gordo's shirts, the Gummy Strong shirt with the penguin. We made a decent amount of sales from him, and we've been sending him the proceeds. All proceeds of this go to Gordo for his medical bills. Brian's been taking care of that and paying him every time we get the shirts sold. And people like the way they look. I still have to order mine. I haven't got around to order mine. I know Roxy showed off hers. Sam showed off his. We have Taco Gladiator bought his. I know Wally bought his. Aloha Mr. Hand showed off his. So people are liking the way it looks, and I like the design for it. So if you can help out Gordo, you got some extra change and you want a shirt, help out Gordo with his medical bills if you can.
Please do it. Very good guy. Deserves every penny he can get.
Yeah, Gordo's the man. But with that, Tone, let's close this out, my man, with your soundtrack pick of the week.
Let's do it.
The Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
With the election this week, I don't know. I was like, what soundtrack has anything to do with politics? Something, this, that.
Never die. The CEO's picking on the small fries. My campaign telling lies. I was just spreading my love. Didn't know my love.
The Bulworth soundtrack. Wow. I don't know why this. I mean, honestly, there was zero research. First thing came to my head when I thought of politics. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever actually sat down and watched Bulworth. But the soundtrack, though, is amazing. It is this song. I don't know why Ghetto Superstar is always in my head. Maybe it's because just recently Praz got upset because the Fugees canceled their reunion tour and he was throwing shots at Lauryn Hill. So I remember Praz. But ODB, man, he rules. Dr. Dre's on the soundtrack. LL Cool J's on the soundtrack. Method Man's on the soundtrack. KSR1's on the soundtrack. Riz is on the soundtrack. I know our main man Gordo loves all of these artists that I'm talking about because he's Mr. Hip Hop. Really good soundtrack here. You slip in later into the soundtrack, and you got Be Real from Cypress Hill. You got a lot of good stuff on here. Capadonna from Wu-Tang. A good soundtrack for the time period. 1998 is when it was released. Was successful when it came out. And listed as one of the top 25 hip hop soundtracks of all time. The Bulworth soundtrack.
I remember when the song came out. I saw the movie. Actually, Bulworth actually worth watching. Warren
Is it?
Beatty. Yeah, it's actually a good.
I love Warren Beatty too. I don't know
Warren Beatty.
why I missed it, but I always liked the video too because Warren Beatty's got like the hat on.
Yeah.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, you gotta watch. It's with Halle Berry as well, isn't it?
Awesome.
I love this. I was a big fan of Maya. I had a big crush on Maya in the 90s. She's still like beautiful now. Awesome voice. But it's funny you mentioned Praz being upset with the Fugees when he's got his own issues with legally, being a Chinese launderer for money. He's the DOJ busted him. I think he was found guilty of like 10 charges or something like that. But you got Old Dirty Bastard in here. I remember just Old Dirty Bastard's in the song when Maya does the hook and he's like in the background. Always cracked me up. But definitely a great song. Great album. I really like the movie as well. So great pick, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that is our show, everyone. Thank you so much if you watched, if you listened, if you check us out on Sadistic Penguin Studios. The show will be back next week. I haven't got to our topic yet, but we will post that soon. My main man Tony just dropped a new Hook Up on Music. Tone, tell them about the Hook Up on Music you dropped.
We got a lot of good stuff covered this week. We got the new Cure album we talked about, which you were reaching out to me during the week. It sounds like you've been listening to it. We dig into that. We dig into finish up talking about the 31 days of horror music that we went through. While doing more research, I came across this awesome band, Concrete Blonde. Dug into one of their albums. Dug into a couple awesome songs by Bob Dylan and Jackson Browne. Talked about a Megadeth album that's celebrating its 30th anniversary. Talked about Third Eye Blind. Why are they so popular? Do we still like them? So much more stuff. Please listen and tune in.
Yes, check out the Hook Up on Music. Tony does an excellent job, and it's usually before our show, depending on if work is not making Tony stay late.
That's true.
Beginning Drafty Pod will be back this Sunday. That is November 10th, and I will be a guest on it along with fellow Penguin Keelan. It's going to be a rescheduled horror movie villain draft with us and the draft master himself, Magnificent Stan, aka Brian. We'll be doing it, I believe, at 6:00 on Sunday here on the Statistics Penguin Studios YouTube. So if you're not doing anything, you're just waiting for another football game to come on, come check us out. Help see if we draft the good horror villains. It's gonna be a tough one. I'm not going against Cupcakes. I'm not going against Baloney, who might be out of his, thinking outside of his mind or in his head too much. Keelan's actually a really, really good horror competitor, and so is Brian. They're really, really into horror films, so it's gonna be a fun one. I can't wait to see who they pick on that one.
It's gonna be good stuff.
Yes, sir. Also, I have a couple ideas for some videos that I want to shoot in the upcoming week. Maybe a review and a couple other things. I have some ideas to get to. I just have to have time to write the scripts for them. So I will be pumping them out. I will be pumping out more videos, but not to the degree of one every day. That will kill me. But I will pump out, at least try to get one every week in, as well as Tony, I know, is pumping out blogs. Keelan's in the works for some stuff that she's doing. And I know Roxy's going to be coming back soon to do some stuff with us, along with the mailman Jack. We'll be having him on again for the segments. So those segments are not ending on this show. We just had been so busy with everything. We're trying to get everything situated, and everybody's doing a lot of stuff on the outside as well. But we'll have them back on here soon.
Very awesome. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm done ranting and raving and talking, Tone. My mouth is very dry. I have to go get some water. And that usually tells me that I've talked too much and it's time to go. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great night. Have a great day whenever you listen or watch this. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
Dude.